Next up at UFC 287, we have Gerald Meerschaert taking on Joe Pyfer. I say Pyfer, and somebody is like, this is ridiculous. There's a P. Why is everybody saying Pyfer? This is absurd. Relax. Joe Pyfer is 10-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off 2 big knockouts in a row. And he's taking on Gerald Meerschaert, 35-15. He is 4-1 though in his last 5. He's coming off that submission win over Bruno Silva. And this is another interesting fight to break down, and another tricky fight with sort of mid-level odds here, because Joe Pyfer, pretty good everywhere, right? We've seen him knocking people out cold on the Contender Series. You're going to see a loss on his Contender Series record, or in his last 5 there, that one loss. He broke his arm. Dude broke his arm, nursed it back to health.
Dustin Stolfus, too, former Mark of the Week.
Broke it in half, nursed it back to health, came back, knocked 2 people out in a row. Now he's making his official UFC debut. He isn't just a power puncher, though. He can wrestle, and he's got some grappling. You don't see very much of it because he doesn't need it because his hands are solid, but he's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's taking on Gerald Meerschaert. Gerald Meerschaert is, let's say, was a jiu-jitsu nerd. He seems to have graduated beyond that, but he's a very, very dangerous jiu-jitsu guy. Very, very dangerous guy. His takedowns do kind of suck, which always drive me nuts, but his striking doesn't suck.
It's been long enough, you know. You feel like you'd learn by now. It can't be that hard,
don't.
Right? I mean, it can't be that hard, right?
It's not.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like if you gave me 9-10 months, I could figure out a pretty decent takedown.
At least have one go-to.
Yeah, something.
Which isn't you diving.
Not just leaning over and like hoping that somebody falls.
I mean, it's going to take more than 9 or 10 months. But Gerald Meerschaert is 35 and 15. I mean,
this was made 9-10 months, and it turned out great.
The dude has 50 professional fights and still is only taking people down at a 37% accuracy. And he typically needs to get it to the ground to win the fight. But I say former jiu-jitsu nerd because his striking actually has been pretty decent lately. And everybody wants to talk about he's got no chin. And yes, in 2020, he was knocked out back-to-back first-round knockout losses. But since then, his chin seems to be holding up. He's coming off that win over Bruno Silva. Dude, Bruno Silva is one of the hardest hitters in this division. And he was able to not only survive, but won some of those striking exchanges and then got the submission late. He didn't get the submission in the first round. He was toe-to-toe with Bruno Silva for a while before
and he got
eventually
it by dropping him, too. I mean, it wasn't a takedown. It was, he basically could have just TKO'd him. He was like, he's Gerald Meerschaert, so he's like, I'm going to submission.
No, so it's not the narrative of Gerald Meerschaert has no chin. I get it. And in 2020, that was a solid narrative. 2021, okay, makes sense. But we're well past that now, and his chin has been holding up. I still think Joe Pyfer wins, but I don't think he's necessarily just going to flatline Gerald Meerschaert the same way Hamzat did. I think Joe Pyfer wins because he's a good wrestler. He's got good enough grappling to not get submitted, and we know he's going to be the better striker. That's why I think Joe wins. But he's a little too green for me, and Gerald has defied the odds before, so I'm going to leave it be because I would have assumed Bruno Silva was going to take Gerald's head off his body. So, you know, I don't want to take the risk and then have Joe lose the same way Bruno Silva did because they're somewhat similar, honestly. But Joe's the pick. He's got good wrestling, powerful hands, good enough jiu-jitsu to avoid whatever submissions Gerald's going to throw up. So Joe's absolutely going to be the pick here, but I'm a little hesitant with the bets. What do you think?
He's got some baby blues on him, doesn't he?
They're hiding.
No, I'm talking about Gerald.
Oh, yeah, those aren't hiding.
Those are out there. Those are piercing. So, Gerald, good for you on that. Let me say for the record, and I think this is actually important for the breakdown, I went into this fight looking for reasons to pick Gerald Meerschaert because I don't think that Joe Pyfer, I think there's a lot of hype behind this guy. So I agree. I think people think he's overrated, this and that. I went into this fight looking for reasons to pick Gerald Meerschaert, and I came out of my breakdown with Joe Pyfer as one of my more confident picks on this card because when you watch that tape against the Joe Meerschaert-Bruno Silva fight, Bruno Silva looked a little bit slow in that fight, and a lot of his strikes were a lot of hooks, right? A lot of power shots. I mean, looping shots, big hooks, looked a little bit slow, and Gerald, to his credit, was defending those. When he's defending in his striking defense, it is kind of hands at his hips, and he doesn't. It's not head movement, and it's not slipping, left to right, ducking under. It is just very slow, methodical, out of the way, just kind of leaning often to the left, often to the right, which well and dandy, because when Bruno was throwing those shots, those big hooks, boom. I mean, they were just missing. But you see what happens when somebody throws shots just straight down the pipe. And that's how I believe Joe Pyfer is going to win this fight. And I think he does throw those strikes. It's straight down the pipe. And it's ones and twos, and it is fast, and it is hard down the middle. And that's exactly what Chimaev did to Gerald Meerschaert. He pinned him against the fence. Gerald was doing the little, this and that, tried to lean out of the way, and that shot got there a lot faster than he thought it was going to get there. I think Joe Pyfer can knock this dude out. I think Gerald is slow with his head movement, and Piper's got good enough hands, and he doesn't get too over-aggressive. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit, is that he headhunts a little bit too much. He gets a little bit too aggressive, because then Gerald can time takedowns. He did it against Bruno. Bruno got a little aggressive. He timed the takedown. He can do that off aggression, but I think Joe stays in the pocket, stays there, ones and twos, straight down the pipe, and puts Gerald away. But Gerald's always going to be live on the ground, so if it goes to the ground, who knows?
I hear you. And, well, first of all, you managed to call him Joe Pyfer, and Pyper. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But, and what are you still eating? We're 46 minutes into this. What are you eating?
I'm eating Sour Patch Kids, the big ones. The big.
Congrats. Anyway, I think we're on the same page here. I don't trust Joe necessarily enough with my money, because he is a little green. And DraftKings, there's a lot of people that just are positive Gerald Meerschaert is going to win this any way that he wants to. The comment section of our quick pick videos is 90% Gerald Meerschaert. And I think he's just one of those guys that has that kind of fan base.
I guess. I literally wanted to. I was like, yes, I'm going to. I was looking for reasons to make Gerald Meerschaert my fucking lock of the week. I was like, yeah, this would be awesome. The rebound, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he's going to get put out.
So I agree. I think Joe's going to win. I don't know if it's going to be put out or any of that nonsense, but I do think Joe is going to win. $8,700 in DraftKings. I actually think I will do that because, I think he'll win for sure. And I think he can score pretty well, even if it's not just a quick knockout. And $8,700 is not $9,000, right? So if you're on the Gerald Meerschaert side, though, well, then, hey, you're going to get this guy at plus 165. And good luck, because he's dangerous. He could technically win by submission. He just did in his last fight. But I just think Joe is a little too good of a wrestler, too good of jiu-jitsu defense, and we know he's got insane power.
And this is the last time I'm trusting that area gym. I don't think he's at the Renzo Gracie in Philly, but I know he trains with those guys, Pat Sabatini, Jeremiah Wells, Sean Brady, all those guys. They've all let me down. So if he gets knocked out by Gerald Meerschaert, I'm done with everyone from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, all of you guys. I'm done with you all if he embarrasses me again. There
was a wild streak there where that gym was undefeated, best gym in the country. All of them are undefeated in the UFC.
They all just shit strikers.
And then immediately it was like...
Even somebody in the comments was like, Jeremiah Wells is a good fighter. He is a shit striker. I mean, he just cocks things back and just like this. It's terrible striking. They're all terrible striking.
I hear you. I completely... Sean Brady was outstruck by Bilal Muhammad. Like, very outstruck by
just
Bilal
jab. It's like, move your fucking head. There was a fight. I mean, that was the Preston Parsons fight, the lock of the week against the only thing I was worried about in that fight was that he was just going to keep walking into the jab, and I said it over and over again. Don't walk into the jab. I'm on the stream doing a live stream. I'm like, just move your fucking head, move side to side, move your head. He's just like, just move your fucking head. It drives me insane.